Last night, XAI held a giant demo for all new Grok 4 with some pretty stunning benchmarks, scoring the highest on many of the tests, and of course, doing so at a lower cost to the end users. This is pretty exciting stuff. We did have a live stream with Jon Twigge, and Jon Twigge was still there in the live stream when Robert Scoble showed up and shared his insights. Most people didn't make it that far in the live stream, so here is a much cleaner, tidier packaged version of that. Let's find out what Robert Scoble thought of the event. Robert Scoble, of course, is well known in the AI industry as one of the leading Sherpas. He has followed it all. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of companies he stays up to date on. He knows his stuff. Let's check it out. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So we've got a very special guest waiting in the wings, the one of the godfathers of AI. We've got Robert Scoble joining us. Robert Scoble, what is going on?
Just because Siri was launched in my house doesn't mean I'm a godfather of
You are
AI.
to me. You are to me. You're my
But
Sherpa.
that hit all of the levels I wanted to see. The multimodal coming in a month, which in Elon times maybe by the end of the year, means that's when we're going to see the Tesla integration, because Tesla, when it has Grok in the Tesla, it has to see you, it has to see the world to be able to tell you things like what's that uh, historical landmark over there, or what's that museum over there, right? That's what the kind of integration we want in our Tesla. But at least we got a really smart model.
Now, better than PhD in every category. Is that a surprise?
No, all of these things are heading that direction, and so I figured they would get close to that, but the quality levels is very high. It's an impressive team.
For me, Robert, the API available later today means it's going to be in all of those coding tools.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big question: is do developers switch from ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude? Um, every developer in San Francisco is using Claude lately. I've been asking, so I'm going to start asking, what about Grok, and see what the answers are going to be. But that'll take a week or two for me to figure out.
And what do you think of the pricing? $400, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying 250 to Gemini for its thing, so it can do a whole bunch of videos and stuff. And the top end tier at OpenAI is what, 200, or they have even a higher level, right, than that.
Mm.
So it's in the neighborhood. I mean, these things are expensive to inference, right? So the more smarts you make a model, the more tokens you're generating and moving around a data center, right? And that therefore the more expensive it is to run in a data center for XAI. And XAI is a company, and they need to make some money and pay back, the billions of dollars they've spent in NVIDIA cards to make these models.
And is this are these companies finally finding their path to monetization? Does this uh, herald a new chapter in XAI's financial, journey?
I think that day is still to come. This model should be the underpinnings of robotaxi, right? If you're talking to an app to order a robotaxi, you're probably going to be talking to Grok, right? And uh, people will get used to talking to AI, as they already are, in some weird ways and sad ways, and a lot of really helpful ways. But this model will be underneath a lot of things. So for Elon, he has an advantage of owning Tesla. That's going to be a big place to monetize. And the other, OpenAI doesn't have that, right? So they have to make a partner with a car company if they want to have their app or their models installed inside a car somewhere.
And I would say the biggest obstacle to that happening is that they will talk to their in-house development team who will assure them that they can build an even better one, even cheaper, which they
Yeah,
cannot.
it's really coming down to me for a Tesla versus Waymo, which is Google, right?
Mhm.
Waymo was spun out of Alphabet, the Google parent company, and so I can't see any way that Waymo is going to switch from using Google Gemini to using Grok or ChatGPT or Anthropic Claude. And those are going to be the two. People haven't figured out that the robo-taxi network is going to rip up transportation in the world. I'm interviewing Waymo customers in San Francisco, and almost all of them tell me they'll never drive again, they'll never buy a car again, and they'll never take an Uber again. Right?
Wow.
That tells you the consumer is changing and will change as it gets to everybody's neighborhood. And of course, Tesla, we're expecting to get to everybody's neighborhood next year when they turn on the fleet, right? Which they have a lot more cars on the road than Waymo does. So the robotaxi network, as it expands, is going to bring Grok to people, to normal people, right? So you want to ride, you're going to have to load up Grok with your robotaxi app, right? You buy a Tesla, you're going to get Grok integrated into the Tesla. And what I saw today with the voices and the smartness tells me the experience of being in a Tesla is about to get a big bump up when it gets Grok integrated.
Wow. That's all pretty fascinating stuff. Um, what did you make of the conversation about the rewards that they changed the rewards profile or something like that?
Yeah. I was a little distracted during that time, but rewards are how it trains itself to get a better answer, basically.
Mhm.
Very superficially. You can ask Grok for a deeper answer. It'll give you a PhD level answer on that question. But what they're all communicating, and all the AI companies I'm interviewing are seeing the same kinds of shifts in how they're building the models and how they're doing AI, and they're all seeing a speed up in the rate of learning, and that's pretty clear to me that this company now is starting to get a speed up in the rate of learning in terms of their plans for the next few weeks and in terms of what they just showed off tonight.
Okay, what Kevin is saying is that they made it so the rewards don't weigh as much to prevent lying,
Yeah.
because a comfortable lie could appear as a reward. Do you expect a bunch of announcements from other companies over the next 2 days in response to this?
Yeah, OpenAI leaked that they're coming out with a new browser. Meta is going to come out in October with a pair of glasses, and that's when I'm at a big developer conference. I would expect that they are going to have a big answer to this then, maybe earlier, but they're certainly aiming at that event. OpenAI has a big event also in October, where they're supposedly going to show off their new hardware device that Johnny Ives and Sam Altman's working on, which is, I believe, is going to be a little square thing that you can put on your desk with a camera, a microphone, and a speaker, and talk to it, and it'll learn about your world as you carry it around the house. But I don't know, this industry is not stopping.
No.
Can I ask Robert a quick question?
Yes.
They were talking about they're running out of human defined problems because it's
Yeah.
getting so good at answering them. And the next challenges will be running in the real world. Now, of course, Optimus will run in the real world with Grok. Is that going to be a big advantage for Tesla?
Eventually, yes. I think the big advantage is still a few years away for a humanoid robot like Optimus. But there's a lot of things they could do earlier. For instance, let's say the robotaxi network turns on next year and you're in Las Vegas and you just got to the airport and you're picking up your bags and you're talking to Tesla robotaxi network, which has Grok running underneath it. I could be in a nightclub in Las Vegas and it could be asking me to see around. Just 3 seconds of seeing around would tell the AI in the sky um, how many people are dancing, what's the gender makeup, and what kind of music is being played, right? What kind of clothing is being worn by the people. And then the person at the airport who's looking for a cool nightclub is going to get a better answer, right? A
Wow.
much more up to date, much more real time answer. That's really the power of Tesla's fleet and its customer base, because the Tesla people tend to be on the richer side of life, right? And they tend to go to things like Las Vegas nightclubs and restaurants and tell a lot of data and want to share their food and talk to their AI about, what they're doing in Vegas. Maybe not everything. Some things should stay in Vegas, but but you can see a new kind of information network based on the real world. But Elon was like, we're going to use this stuff to design new chips, new drugs, new new things, and new science. And that's already happening with the other models, but this one is a very smart model. So I would assume a lot of scientists will start using this to do research kinds of things, to build new drugs or find new materials.
Of course, Grok Heavy at $300 a month will run 10 agents that come back and check their notes. But if you're running inside Tesla or SpaceX or whatever, if you need them, you'll get 100, 1,000 agents.
Certainly, if you're working in material science, which is spending billions of dollars at SpaceX or the R&D that's being done at Tesla, and understanding the real world also has deep implications on the holodeck I keep dreaming about, right? Which is a 3D environment around you. If you have an Apple Vision Pro, you already have a beginnings of a holodeck around you. It turns the real world into voxels, right? And that you can change with a computer. Well, what is physics? It's balls bouncing off the wall, right? It's light that's traveling around the room, doing ray tracing. It's sound coming off of surfaces, right? That will make a entertainment experience inside a pair of glasses that's coming soon more interesting. Or even if you're playing a video game on the screen, you're going to have physics engines to make those games. And he showed off one right at the end, right, where they were making a video game with this thing, and they expect a whole video game industry. Why is he doing that? Because we're all going to be in an autonomous car soon with a screen, right? We're all going to want to play games and watch movies and talk to Grok about, our kids' homework or whatever like that.
And they talked about links to Unreal Engine, Unity code, etc. So it's not hard to imagine that next year they'll be able to drive those engines live, driving in the vision versions of them.
Do you think, Matt wants to know, do you think Elon's going to do a wearable with one of his
You
companies?
keep asking him if he's going to do a glasses or a phone. He's like, I have no time, which means probably. I mean, the problem is the technology's still not quite there for a lightweight pair of glasses that's really capable. They're getting close, certainly in the next 18 months. But in 18 months, let's see what Elon's thinking, because maybe then he recognizes the technology is actually here. He could certainly partner with a Meta, Google, and Google probably not because they have Waymo, but an Apple or a Meta or a Snap, right, that have glasses coming. So or something else. The glasses are coming, and they're going to be very fun to play with. Certainly 3 to 5 years from now, when they're really capable, the screens that are inside the glasses are just getting pretty good. So
I can imagine the stepping stone though, where you've got the wearable with a camera that's connected, so it knows which way you're looking. It can check where your head's looking. You've got the earphone in. You're talking. It can translate.
Johnny Ive says it's not a wearable. I think it's a small device that you could wear. You could hang it around your neck. But really, you want to have it on your desk staring at you, because you're going to soon be talking to this and showing it things like show it the screen, if you're working on Excel or some agent platform, right? It could help you out. OpenAI already does that. If you use the phone, it's just the phone right now is sitting with the camera looking at the ceiling. It's not very useful. We're about to get into a war over multimodality, right? I think that's why he held the multimodality pieces of this to get them really good, both for his Tesla needs, but also to have something to say to OpenAI.
Well, explain that for the folks who don't understand it, which is definitely not me.
Multimodality means that a model that can see what you're looking at with the camera, right? I went around the Smithsonian using ChatGPT's advanced voice feature with a video camera on, and it could see the tractor I was standing in front of, and then it told me about the tractor, right? You aim it at food, it tells you about the food, or it can tell you if you show it your spice rack, it'll inventory it for you, that kind of thing,
Hmm.
right? So the ability to see in the world, it means a lot of new capabilities for humans, and those things are getting really better every month. Google Gemini is ahead right now. By the way, what do you need for a robot? Multimodality. Because if you have a Optimus in your kitchen, it needs to cook you dinner, and it needs to find everything. It needs to know where it is in 3D space, and it needs to know what the ingredient means and what it is. And that's what, giving smarts to the eyes of the robot is key here, right? For the future.
Can I
And
ask Robert, do you think
yes,
everybody will get a Neuralink eventually? Will
I'm sorry.
everybody get a Neuralink rather than glasses eventually?
Eventually is a long time. Right? Hopefully, we have a few million more years on this planet. But no, I would expect everybody to have glasses in the next 3 to 5 years, and Neuralink is further, and there's going to be a lot of different approaches to brain computer interfaces. I just had Meron Grivitz on my show last night, and he's built a brain computer interface that fixes people's depression if you have severe depression. But he talked about the whole field, and I've been studying it, going to Stanford University's robot and XR days, and I met several entrepreneurs who are building brain computer interfaces, one of which is a hat that has 70,000 sensors on the inside of it. The founder of that company thinks that he can get it to market in 2 years. So let's say it's 3 or 4. And he thinks it'll be about $500. So a consumer level product, right, that you put on, and then you can do a lot of what the first 7 Neuralink patients are doing, which is thinking and computing, right? Because they have wires on the brain listening to their brain. This hat kind of idea would do something similar for a lot less money and a lot less pain, and you could take it off. Which once you get a real Neuralink with wires on your brain, that's still not something everyday people are going to do. It has a real problem. It could kill you, right? And the first patients have had rejection of the wires. That the brain doesn't like these wires and builds blocks against them. So there's a lot of science still to be done before me and you sign up for the full Monty, jacket me in. Plus, we want to wait until it can write and read from the brain, right, to get the full Monty. That's the singularity. That's probably 10 to 20 years away, maybe more, right? For normal everyday people. Yeah.
so when you get a phone like a Pixel 8 or a car like a Tesla with AI 4, a term I still object to because when I bought it, it said hardware 4. How much AI is actually in that device versus just going back to the cloud to get the actual process done?
That's an interesting question, because hardware 4 has some extra headroom for a model to run locally in the car. And you want it really to run locally in the car, because if you go to Yellowstone National Park, there's no connectivity there. And you want your AI system to keep working, at least for basic stuff like, what's the road, what's the landmark here, what's up ahead, where's someplace to eat, where's a hotel, right? And they didn't really show off a small model. I don't think you guys didn't see a featured small model of Grok 4, but that's what all the companies are working on, is a smaller model that can run on your phone, or someday in your glasses locally, or in a robot, right? Because like my Matic robot that has 4 cameras, it does all of its work locally like a Tesla does. It doesn't pass the data from my house up to the cloud for privacy reasons, right? And so that has a small model running on an NVIDIA card inside their vacuuming robot, right?
Well, one of the things I've seen in posts in the last few days is that it's going to be capable of deciding which model to use when you talk to it, the
Yeah.
cheap local one. Or if it's something more challenging, then I'll send it off to the cloud to get me more detailed answers.
And they're not the first to do that. Apple Intelligence actually works like that, right? If you ask a simple question like where's the closest internet, it answers locally. And then if you ask it a PhD level question, it says, I don't know how to answer that. Actually, it's a lot stupider than that over at Apple, but it'll pass that prompt over to ChatGPT if you approve it, and then ChatGPT will give you an answer, and Apple Intelligence will display. Same thing is going to be true in the car. That's why it's a hard question to answer about the Tesla, because a piece of it should be running locally to take care of basic, needs. Whereas the supercharger kind of needs, right? Or talk to the car and turn down the AC kind of needs. That should all run locally. But having the bigger answers, if your kids are in the back seat asking PhD level questions because they're going to college, right? It has to go up to the cloud for that.
And of course, one day, if we've got millions or even billions of Optimus, what is the cloud? It might be that there's 10 in your street. It might be it can go a bit wider to the community to get to thousands of Optimus AI 6s and 7s.
Well, Optimus should be just like my Tesla works in Yellowstone National Park where there's no connectivity, right? The FSD continues to work there. The map doesn't really work very well, but that's something we could fix with a download. But a robot needs to work locally to be reliable, because the internet is still not 100% reliable thing as you move around space. Even if you have a Starlink, as I walk around my house, I have 3 Wi-Fi 7 routers, and it still has a spot where X audio space dies, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with a robot. A robot has to work in places where you might not have the connectivity and still needs to function. It needs to have all that knowledge inside. The LLM needs to run locally, right? For most of that. And keep in mind that the Tesla doesn't use an LLM to drive around the car. They use diffusion model, right? But it's a different kind of AI running the driving of the car than the smarts, which is a large language model, which is what you talk to or interact with, right?
So because of that, because FSD will be unsupervised for robotaxi some of the time, that additional inference could be required for cell phone dead spots. If the car gets stuck in a valley and it can't get a signal out, it still needs to be able to solve that problem. That could be something addressed by additional hardware.
Maybe, the hardware 5 is coming, and I assume it's a lot faster than hardware 4, right?
Right.
So why release a new version?
Right.
They're saying 5 to 10 times faster because it's optimized.
That extra space could be really used to optimize the network and get a car to you faster, right? Because that's going to be a real key. How do you move cars around a city or a country, right? Coachella every spring has 150,000 people at a music festival, and about 3,000 cars are going to have to be moved down there to take care of people's robotaxi needs, right? So having that be better researched out, better arranged, and then have the network be able to optimize like that fast. He could use some of that space for that. We still don't have a good pothole detector, right? And I keep expecting a new model that really sees the world in a deeper 3D than it does today. Like, if I hit a pothole, shouldn't it tell, Tesla's computer in the sky, hey, there's a pothole here. It feels like about 3 inches deep. If I blow a tire on it, I should be able to complain to the AI and say, hey, there's a pothole here, and it just blew my tire, right? And it should warn everybody else, hey, stay away from that lane. There's a pothole there, and should even show it on the screen, like, there's a pothole here. We know that. We don't have anything like that, but I'm expecting over the next 12 months to see stuff like that. But that means you have bigger, more complex models, or more of them doing more workloads in the robot that's driving us around, right?
Well, and I would imagine that it would remember when I have the same pothole more than once. Maybe it doesn't send it to the cloud, or the cloud doesn't tell everyone, but
That's not, you should share your pothole information with everybody else.
I should, but when I have a single disengagement in the same place every single drive because it thinks I live in the alley, which it may be a prediction of things to come, but I don't. There's no vehicle access back there. It should know, yeah, I got this driveway wrong. And I'm sure that that will be fixed in the next FSD update, because the next FSD update surely includes, whether it's turned on or not, location for pickup and drop off.
That
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 is
that
one
would
great
require memory, right? And in other words, it might make a mistake once, but it should remember every time you drive home, you drive to a specific driveway and a specific garage spot, and it should only need to be taught that in perfect world once, right? It might take 3 times for you to do it, and then it should just start doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
And that requires a memory of how we navigate the world. I just hit one of these in a park where it didn't when I turned on FSD, it didn't go the right way to get out of the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should only have to show it once or 3 times, and then boom, it should kick in and learn, right?
We're seeing that in the coding tools that they keep notes, and
Yeah,
those can be shared across the development team, so they begin to learn. So it's the same technology would come into the cars, and of course it should report the pothole to whoever's supposed to fix them, and then with an Optimus standing by, maybe they'll get fixed pretty quickly too.
Mm.
I totally agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we've been on air for quite some time. Robert, I want to thank you for joining us on,
Yeah.
really no notice. I just sent him a message while this was all going on, inviting him. John, thank you as always for coming on.
I love what
Guys,
you guys do. So
in the
Thank
comments,
you.
what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it. You know what you're doing. I'll be back to check in the comments, in coming days, and we'll probably break off this Robert Scoble part at the end as its own video that can run tomorrow. Check him out. All the links will be in the description. Guys, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots on the flippity flop, and do all the liking and subscribing.